the 6 metrics you need to know to make a profit. It's the Marketing for Owners podcast, and it is me. It is John Butt. If you are not watching this on the website at marketingforowners.com/podcast/636, then you won't be able to see me in the video and you won't know what I look like. Oh, well, you might know what I look like. But these are recorded as a video, and you can see me sometimes wave my arms around and looking serious and smiling, things like that. I recommend you go watch the video. It's better than listening on the old podcast. However, if you are on Stitcher or on SoundCloud, or if you are listening to this on iTunes, it's my favourite, then I would strongly, incredibly appreciate a review. Have you ever reviewed a podcast? Do you just listen to them all and then just pop away? Well, us podcasters, it's what we desperately crave. We want to know if you enjoy it or not, and it would be really helpful. Also, if you do give a podcast, it helps me because my show then registers with people like Apple and iTunes, and they think, oh, people are rating this, it must be good, so they promote it a bit, and it helps others because if you find the information helpful, then I think it's likely that someone else will, and that's what this is all about. And now we're talking about profits. We're talking about measuring and metrics and things like that, which could well be boring for a lot of people. And to be honest, if the thought of metrics and profit and numbers is boring for you, then I recommend that you switch this off, that you delete all podcasts, business podcasts, that you, if you have your own business, that you close it down and you go get yourself a job. Because then someone else can worry about it and you don't need to worry at all. However, if you want to grow a business, it's extremely helpful to know about the numbers. If you don't, you're not going to manage. Okay, so what is the first one? And this, by the way, follows on from last Monday, I think it was, when I gave some others. I gave you the top 3. But you need the full picture. So number 1, it's hardly surprising. You need to know your profit margin. Yes, your profit margin. Now, you are thinking, if you say you're selling ebooks and things, there is a profit margin. You might just think to yourself, well, no, I've made it once, I've paid for it, and that's that. But if you sell products, you need to know your profit margin, and you need to make sure that it is the correct one, right? That it is the actual profit margin. I recommend that if you think you know what it is, Google it and then make sure you're measuring the right one, because a friend of mine measured something very, very similar called the markup, and they got it wrong and it nearly cost them the whole business. So that's the first one. Now, number 2 is your conversion rate. And there are conversion rates. Well, we'll come to that in number 3, but because there's different ones. But a conversion rate, quite simply, is for every X number of people that you either meet or that you talk to or that visit your website, how many of them convert to the goal that you hoped for. Now, for most, conversion rate is how many of them bought something, how many of them converted to a sale. For some, it may be conversion rate, may be visitors to the website to sign up to your list, or people to a webinar opt-in page to sign up for a webinar. So it doesn't have to just be money, it can be something else. But you need to know that conversion rate, and you need to have a goal so that you know if you're being successful or not. Because otherwise you're just doing stuff and you're not measuring and you're not trying because you don't know whether you're successful or not. You would have no idea if you're doing it correctly or not. Would you? Now the next one, number 3, is the segment conversion rate. And what I mean by that is what I hinted at just before. If for, let's take a website for instance, for a paid traffic, okay, so for pay-per-click, Google AdWords, let's just call it Google AdWords. If you are bidding on keywords in Google AdWords, you tend to be bidding on high intent keywords, ones that where people will be taking an action, so it's worth your money. Therefore, the conversion rates from people on those are likely to be higher than just people just popping along to your website from finding you in a result in Google. They may have found, they may be looking up your particular keyword, but they may be looking up in relation to something else. They also may be a long way away from becoming a customer. But you need to know that conversion rate because it will be very different and that will affect. So if you increase your organic traffic, people coming from search results, if you increase that greatly, your overall conversion rates are likely to reduce. So you need to know that that was affecting your conversion rate and that the core, say your pay-per-click, hasn't changed. So segment. And at the same time, for instance, the conversion rates of your people who answer phone calls, you may outsource suddenly to a call center and those conversion rates from that end may go down because they don't know so much. Or you have a telephone appointment booking system. You need to know the conversion rate of that at every stage of it so that you know if it's successful. I hope this makes sense. These are basic ones and this should be known. Now, another one I discussed, so number 4, one I discussed last week, is the cost per acquisition. I mentioned there Google AdWords. That's easy to measure. So for example, the cost per acquisition from Google AdWords is measured automatically within the software. However, you need to know the cost per acquisition again across the board. And for example, the cost per acquisition from, say, social media, you need to work out the time involved and your effort, and the cost per acquisition from Google AdWords. How do you measure that? How about the amount of money you spend or time involved in writing articles and the keyword research and that side of the business, so that you can work out the cost per acquisition? Because if you don't know that cost, you don't know if that effort is worthwhile. Pretty obvious, yeah? Then the customer retention rate. Now, this comes up especially if you are in a subscription business. So someone pays a monthly fee or an annual fee or something, say for instance software. So if you were, think of a thing like Meet Edgar, the social media tool, $49 a month or whatever it costs, they need to know how long a customer stays for on average. If that customer stays there for just 3 months, they want to get that figure up to 4 months, and then to 5 months, and then to 6 months. So that's the kind of information you need to know because it's important. I'm sure you can work out why. If someone is buying your products, if you deliver makeup, if you think, or Loot Crate, if you think of Loot Crate, if people sign up for Loot Crate and stay with them for 3 months, then if they could get that up to 4 months, they've increased the money they get from each customer by 1/3, going from 3 to 4 months. That's quite significant, important figure to know. And the final one is probably most important. It's the customer lifetime value, which again comes down to profit margin, retention rates that I've just said, and things like that. Because with all of this information, you can now work out how much profit an individual customer on average is worth to you over a period of time. And what that time is, you need to know, because when you're trying to get a customer, say like Loot Crate, I don't even know what it costs, say it costs $30 a month. If they know that the average customer is going to be there for 4 months, then the average income is $120. It's not just $30 of that day one sale. So they make profit on month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4. They can afford possibly to spend 2 months worth of income to get the profit that they're going to make over 4 months. And it gives them access to other channels and things like that. This kind of stuff is important. If you know those 6, you are golden, and they're not that difficult to find out. Have a word with a friend, an accountant, your mentor, just nail those figures out, keep an eye on them, measure them. Okay, it's Monday, it is Book for a Week, and today one of my favourite authors, Michael Masterson, also known as Mark Ford. His most famous thing was Early to Rise, which is now owned by my good friend Craig Ballantyne and Matt Smith. But one of his books is 7 Years to 7 Figures. Now, the guy, of all the people you want to know, you want to listen to, if you want to find out how to make a load of money, listen to someone who makes a load of money regularly. This guy does, he does it himself, he knows how to do it, and this is so smart, it's so smart. 7 Years to 7 Figures, Michael Masterson. You will love it.